So at this particular point in time, I would like to welcome Chris Isaac to share his presentation. It will be about the International Biosecurity and Biosafety Initiative for Science.
So thank you so much for inviting me to speak here today. The warm-up exercise was very good for waking me up as well. And today I have the pleasure to talk to you about the International Biosecurity and Biosafety Initiative for Science, which we call IBBIS. So this initiative really came out of a long-standing discussion in the biosecurity and biosafety field, specifically that rapid biotechnology advances often outpace the ability of governments to provide effective oversight and to prevent accidents or deliberate misuse of biology with catastrophic consequences, which I'm sure we've heard a lot about today. And this has been the case for a long time. But at a meeting in Geneva in 2018, a lot of people came together and proposed a series of, aspirational goals for interventions throughout the bioscience, biosecurity, and biosafety worlds. And one of the main actions that we discussed was the need to engage public and private sector stakeholders to develop stronger biosecurity norms and, help turn these practical governance approaches into concrete, actionable solutions and tools to guard against these emerging biological risks. And to that end, several years later, we are coming close to the launch of a new international initiative, the International Biosecurity and Biosafety Initiative for Science. So over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to tell you a little bit about IBBIS, about its history, its hopes, and where we hope to go with it in the future. And then leave some time at the end for a discussion about what IBBIS can do to be most impactful for partners around the globe. So the mission and vision of this new international organization is such that IBBIS will work collaboratively with global partners to strengthen biosecurity norms and develop innovative tools to uphold them. IBBIS undertakes this work to safeguard science and reduce the risk of catastrophic events that could result from deliberate abuse or accidental misuse of bioscience and biotechnology. I think that this is really important because as a synthetic biologist, I want to see the work that we do applied to the world to solve these pressing global challenges like the climate crisis, water scarcity, being able to develop better crops and fertilizers. And all of those goals are dependent on a culture of responsibility and preventing the same science that will help the world from being misapplied to harm it. And IBBIS really embodies that vision of a world in which bioscience and biotechnology can flourish safely and responsibly through this collective effort. The impetus for IBBIS really came out of a discussion related to the speed at which governments and international governments can adapt to changes in the technological landscape. The WHO Global Guidance Framework for the Responsible Use of Life Sciences puts it really succinctly and notes that the incentives to identify and mitigate risks associated with biotechnological advances are lacking, meaning that the key things that different stakeholders need throughout this research lifecycle are not necessarily always aligned with doing it as responsibly and as safely as possible. Case in point, the extreme pressure in academia to publish as much and as quickly as you can means that the slow and often challenging risk assessment processes can sort of be deprioritized in favor of very quickly publishing. And out of this need, and out of the need to help these like governments and international organizations proceed with their very important norms and standard setting work, another global organization with a primary mission to reducing emerging tech risks and technology advances is needed. Specifically, an organization that can work across private and public sectors to reorient these incentive structures and align progress towards that safe and secure future where bioscience and biotechnology can flourish. And IBBIS should accomplish this by providing innovative solutions that uphold and strengthen those previously developed norms. The structure of IBBIS should really highlight the values that it has and how it's going to go about achieving them. So IBBIS is from the ground up designed to be small and agile, reliant on external advisory bodies to determine what work is valuable and how IBBIS should accomplish it, nimble enough to engage across sectors and regions, and solution-oriented, being able to provide actionable tools to actually address the issues that those external advisory bodies have identified. So case in point, IBBIS's initial scope as it launches in the end of the year is going to be safeguarding DNA synthesis technology. So as synthetic biologists, I'm sure that we all work with synthetic DNA, ordering it, using it, struggling over mini preps, transformations, and ligations. But the problem is that as DNA synthesis technologies become more accessible and less centralized, screening these ordered sequences for pathogen DNA or toxins runs counter to these companies being able to produce a lot of sequences very quickly and cheaply and increase their bottom line. And currently, screening for pathogen DNA is completely voluntary, and minimum biosecurity standards in this sector are absent. This is challenging because there are a lot of good actors who want to behave responsibly and support screening. However, companies that do not screen have a competitive advantage by forgoing that additional cost step. Accordingly, and through consultation with stakeholders in industry and in government, IBBIS is going to oversee and maintain DNA synthesis screening software known as the Common Mechanism, which we've developed in collaboration with an international technical consortium of experts in biotechnology and biosecurity to provide this resource so that providers of any scale and of any geography can participate in these sort of risk-reducing activities without additional burdens placed upon them. So currently we have the databases used for screening prepared. Those are completed. The benchtop devices that we hope to integrate them into are already moving to market, and the software to perform screening is largely complete. The final steps on the Common Mechanism that IBBIS is going to be hosting include decision support systems related to customer screening to be able to ensure that the customer that these companies are doing business with do not, in fact, plan to misuse this DNA or are not prepared to manage the risks associated with that DNA sequence, as well as introducing additional incentives to make the Common Mechanism the premier screening tool and really bringing people towards DNA screening in a positive way and less in a way that it seems like an additional burden. As IBBIS continues to grow, there are a number of other initiatives that we've heard would be very valuable. One of which is working with funders to create a biotechnology funders compact, ensuring that research that is funded by private donors, by governments, or by philanthropies is, we ensure that there is a risk assessment done on that research and that they have made biosecurity a priority in their efforts. Similarly, being able to develop guidance for governments and offer recommendations for regulation or that incentivizes biosecurity measures. Similarly, aligning those incentives in industry developing a seal of approval for biosecurity norms and creating insurer incentives for good behavior, as well as helping publishers develop processes and information management systems to improve the biosecurity review of manuscripts, as well as engaging with those universities and industry labs who are on the cutting edge of research and helping them understand from the ground up that fundamentally dual use research is important to consider and assess no matter where you're planning on applying your project. Because IBIS is designed to be small and agile, we hope that we'll be able to solicit other ideas from stakeholders and begin to fill these gaps in the biosecurity architecture. And it's not that we think that these interventions are a one-stop shop or a perfect solution, but rather we believe in a layered approach to reducing risks. The research and development life cycle is long, and there are vulnerabilities all along the way. IBIS plans to create a layered defense and offer practical solutions throughout that spectrum and intervene at different points to buy down the overall risk of the research life cycle. So on the figure, you can see that there are sort of groups at the top and then sort of actionable stakeholders at the bottom. So at the funding review, when research gets its start, we need to engage with governments, philanthropies, and venture capital to make sure that they are including biosecurity as a condition of that funding. Similarly, when research proceeds into an institution, there should be institutional biosafety and biosecurity committees who understand how to evaluate the risks and are prepared to review these incoming research proposals. And as the research is being accomplished, research necessarily relies on providers of materials and services like DNA synthesis providers, like pathogen repositories and cloud labs or foundries, engaging with those providers to either screen pathogens in DNA, perform customer screening, or ensure that the outputs of their automated systems is consistent with their values and doesn't undermine biosecurity. And lastly, the final step of research, publication, patenting, it should be a normal and respected practice to be able to review these manuscripts for risk and prevent these articles from providing undue information that might create harm in the future. So to this point, we have made a lot of progress towards launching IBIS, including convening an international steering committee with representatives across sectors and regions. We've shaped the key features of IBIS through extensive scoping studies with stakeholders around the world, and we've made significant progress towards our fundraising goals. Lastly, the IBIS vision and attributes have been defined through ongoing branding and outreach, and we have successfully recruited an executive director, which is very exciting, and we can't wait to release that info soon. So that was a lot, but there are a couple things that you could do to become involved if you found this interesting. There are a number of upcoming public events related to IBIS that we have on the calendar, including participation at the Global Partnership Working Group, which is coming up pretty quick here. ABSA International, we'll have a presence at the Global Technology Summit in India, as well as at the BWC Review Conference. And going into winter, there will be the World Economic Forum annual meeting, as well as the Munich Security Conference in February. And individually, if you think that the value proposition of IBIS is strong, you could increase awareness amongst your networks, identify additional socialization opportunities to get this message out, amplify IBIS on social media, either by retweeting NTI, that's at NTI_WMD on Twitter, or sharing the YouTube videos that we've produced on IBIS. And additionally, staying in touch as we prepare to launch. So that was a very fast talk, but I wanted to leave a lot of space for discussion, specifically about how IBIS could be most helpful to you, where you think IBIS or organizations like IBIS can have the most impact, and what solutions or tools would motivate you to become involved with IBIS in the future. And thank you very much for your attention. And it was such a pleasure to be here and speak with you.
Thank you very much, Isaac, for that wonderful presentation. He has ended with discussion questions. What are your thoughts about IBIS? How it can help you, how it can become more impactful? So I'd like to get some responses from here and online.
Thank you, Isaac, for this presentation and these wonderful initiatives. I think for us as a North African region, indeed, we need to be involved in such kind of initiatives. As a previous presentation from the NTI regarding the Global Health Security Index, we noted that we have deficiency either in the MENA region or in the sub-Saharan region regarding the score. We are scored as a MENA region is 21.8. So these initiatives indeed align with our needs. So I think it will be helpful to be engaged in this via the regional expert of the North African regional expert. Regarding my thoughts for your activity, I think we need to work on the implementing some projects in the regions. Region maybe in Africa or in North Africa, or you can divide it or segmented the project based on the needs of each region. So by the project, we have many benefits. Firstly, we engaged experts. Second one is that we build capacity. The third one, we can publish a paper about the output of this project and get an innovative tools and idea within this or such kind of projects. So this is simply and this is the preliminary ideas, but I congratulate you about these initiatives, and I hope you wonderful impact. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, we absolutely plan to engage regionally and take your point about the value of ongoing publication and tool development.
Thank you. Any other question here or online? I personally have a question. NTI has a number of biosecurity initiatives. How does this differentiate from the other efforts, like the Global Biosecurity Dialogue and the other efforts around biosecurity? How is IBIS different from those? Yeah.
That's a great question. And IBIS is going to be a truly independent organization from NTI that launches in the end of the fall. So IBIS and NTI will sort of like split apart. And the function of IBIS is going to be as a partner to international organizations and national governments to take this sort of normative guidance and turn it into tools and solutions. And NTI hopes to continue to partner with IBIS in the future and continue doing what we do best, which is sort of starting these pilot projects, doing the initial research, and sort of de-risking these projects before IBIS can go on, take the best of the best, sustain it, and implement it throughout the world.
Thank you. Any other question or comment from here? Have we all understood what IBIS is? Can I ask someone randomly what IBIS is in full? Thank you very much, team. So seeing as we have no other question or comment about IBIS, we all know how to locate NTI and that's information on this, you can always follow up in case you want to have much more personalized discussions between them and your institute or organization.